Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody. And I know you're missing the music. Let me give you some music. How are you? I hope you're all well. Today is the 30th of October. For those of you who've woken up just now, it is Saturday, and I want you to enjoy your little time with us. It's an hour. It's a live Q&A for the month of October. And like I mentioned last month, it feels so long ago, we have this format that we are introducing that we believe will be a blessing, to our young ones in a huge way. I was blown away by the feedback I got from our last monthly live Q&A. And we had Zachary online, who is, by the way, to show you how diligent he is, he's already sent his greetings. Hello, everybody, he says. There's so much that we covered at that broadcast, rather, during that broadcast, that we have an opportunity to do again today. My plan is to allow the guest to speak to you. As I said, I know that many of you are prepped up for that session, but like we do at all our live Q&As, we would have some information we want to pass on to you. Usually there's scams that are trending that we just, try and get you hardened up for. We don't have scams to talk about. I think we've spoken about it the last 2 weeks. But I do have an area that is also important to me that I will cover for those of you who are none the wiser. We just want to adorn you with this information so that you would continue to skill up and get stronger for your young ones. Okay? That is the plan. I'm just going to do something because I've found that the messages are not showing up the way they ought to, and I need to change that quickly. Should I make it white? Yeah, I think I'll make it white. Okay, so that was I was just making sure that you saw Zachary. That's Zachary saying hello to everyone. And we also have Auntie Nora, who is also online. I'm just going to acknowledge those who are online. They're early birds. They come to meetings very quickly. That's Auntie Nora. Thank you for being with us during the show. And I'll be doing that from time to time. I've actually got the comments closer to me this time, so I'm not leaning in like I've been doing in the past. But you're welcome. Really, really happy to have you on board. If you're new on this platform, please, I would love you to, send a comment and just tell us your name. Well, we'll see your name, but just say you're new and you're saying hi. We'll do the same, actually, also for questions. If you have any questions that you intend to ask, please make sure you put a Q before your comment so that I can pick it out when we get busier in the broadcast. Okay? Yes, it's good, really good to have you on board. We're too few to kick off, so I'm going to kind of wait a little bit and just chat away and see how we go. So those who are just dropping in, if you're dropping in and you want to say hi, please send a comment. If you're new, do the noble thing and put new before your comment. If you're going to ask a question straight out of the gates, please put a Q before your comment or question. Okay? That's just a little housekeeping. That's nothing more. I don't think I can add more. We've had other people join after that plea. And so I'm just going to go straight in because I don't want us to delay. And I hope people are not just waiting for 10 minutes because they know in 10 minutes time that we'll kick off the real interview. That would be a shame. But hey, it's what it is. Okay. All right. So the area that I'm going to cover is parental controls, but not as you know it. I know that we generally have a lot of things we want to do for our kids as they take their journey on the internet. Without a doubt, I know that we mean to do only good things for our young ones. But unfortunately for us, our young ones feel intimidated, they feel almost choked when we are in their business. What are you doing? What are you watching? You spend too much time. You do that, you do this. And if we constantly have to be speaking it out to them, then you have the danger of it really backfiring on you, because your young one will say, you're not allowing me grow, you're in my business, I'm not allowed to make mistakes, it's through my mistakes that I grow. And of course, you don't have 5-year-olds be able to tell you that. I'm talking about those who are from 10 years old and above. And some parents react to that in a different way. Rather than continue the noble thing that they're doing, trying to make sure that their kids are safe on the internet, what they tend to do is they just hands off completely. I don't need this. And that is error. Right? It is sincerely a mistake. The fact that our young ones are accusing us of intruding, invasion of privacy, and things like that does not mean that we just close shop, we just hands off. No, absolutely not. And this is where parental controls is your best friend, because you can still do the micromanaging and the, all over your child's business, but do it quietly, do it silently. And many parents who are on the forum who've used some of the parental control tips and tricks that I've given in the past years, really, because we've talked about parental controls all over. We never stop. It's always there in the mix. I'm sure they've found how that has helped. Of course, when you start using parental control software or applications, it's a bit difficult to tweak, initially, but gradually with a little practice, you get a good mix, and it just does exactly what you want. So areas where you are concerned about how much time your young one is spending on the internet, you have features in these parental control applications that allow you manage that. So you're not having to shout from the room, get off the computer. It just does it. You put a setting in at 10 o'clock, for example, the computer or whatever it is, your device, your young one is using will either shut down, or at least prevent them from doing that activity at that time. Of course, I'm not saying that you do this in a cryptic way, you do it hidden. No, you and your child, as we have said in many videos, if you just go through the portal, you see videos that will directly address this. But you'll find that we promote discussion, we promote dialogue with your young ones. Speak to your young ones and make sure that they understand that you mean well by what you're doing. So, of course, if you've established that, you've established a baseline, boundary lines and all that, then your young one should not be surprised when the screen shuts down or the internet shuts down at a particular time, because you have agreed those terms. Okay? But parental controls are mostly the best way to manage these, the things that you don't want your young ones to get doing at a certain time, because you're concerned for their welfare, their well-being. Looking at a screen for so long, we know has to have some impact or effect on the children's eyes, so helping them help themselves can't be a bad thing. And of course, the other things that you are able to combine with those settings I've just mentioned are privacy settings. You make sure that they are being private with what they're doing, and parental control applications allow you to do that. Okay? So at some point down the line, perhaps the shorts or the weekly videos that we send out, I intend to give us some guides, no, the shorts won't do it because that's too short, but I'll give us guides on how we can, protect or enable parental controls on our smart devices, smartphones, on our social media platforms, on our gaming consoles, on broadband and mobile networks, a lot. I will address those areas and just put some guides together so that you can set this up and protect your young one. Okay? I know that if you've been watching this channel long enough, that parental controls are not 100% effective. Parental controls are a tool amongst other tools, okay? Speak to your young one. That's key. Speak to your young one. If you speak to them, communicate with them, and tell them, that you want to be a part of this journey too. That the internet journey or the social media journey is not off limits for parents. Parents want to get along with their young ones and continue that journey. It's not only when the young one needs money or needs this gadget or needs that gadget that, oh, dad, can I? Mom, can I? No. It's still part of that journey, and the internet and social media are not off limits. And so as long as you're not being bullish, you're not being that dad or that mom, and that you're being generous, you're being caring, our young ones will gravitate towards us and allow us to be a part. I know some families where it happens mostly with daughters. I don't know why, but don't ask me. But I know the daughters are always getting their mom, especially, in their business, and befriending their moms on social media, etc. That may not be everybody's story, but I know at least a few that I know allow that to happen. So there's no harm in befriending. Now I'm speaking to the young adults. There's no harm in befriending your mom or your dad. If you have an issue with that, then there is an issue. Full stop. Okay? And that issue need not be there. So let's be open and transparent as families and make sure that we are generously communicating also on social media and the internet in general. Okay? I've gone over my 10 minutes and I can't continue speaking. I know, like I said at the beginning of the show, again, if you're just coming, please, and you're new, put a comment down and let us know that you're new so that we can say hello to you. If you have a question for later in the show, please put a Q before your question so that I can pick it up when we get into the broadcast proper. Okay. So like I said, we're here for two reasons. One, to do what I just did. And then secondly, to, have a chat, a live Q&A, if you like, with our special guest. Our special guest is young, or should I say younger than I am. And some of you will say, hey, praise God, you're tired of listening to this old age pensioner. Well, you have a young guy. Guy. So that obviously means it's not a lady. That is going to be sharing his thoughts with you. I've known him forever. That is so funny. I've known him forever, and you would soon know why. And I hope that our engagement will reveal a lot of things that you, as a parent, are hoping that your young one will understand at this time. The internet is rough. It's really rough. Social media is noisy and rough. And so we want our kids to be safe. We want them to know that as parents, we're not from a different planet. It has worked. Albeit with challenges, it has worked on some kids. And so without further ado, I'm going to invite and bring into the broadcast our special guest, who is Edward Idem. Edward, how are you?
Hi guys, I'm good, thank you, Dad. Good, thank you.
Quite odd, quite odd. Last week we had Zachary, and I didn't want him to, get too cozy, uncle and all that. I wanted him to sit down as a proper guest. But it's okay. I am your dad. There's nothing you can do to change that. And yes, like I mentioned at the beginning, I've known you all your life. So I am a witness of your growth and your journey thus far. So I'm glad that you took the time. I know how busy you guys can be, but I'm glad that you took the time, to honor this invite. I really want to use your life, your experiences, or experience. Actually, it's still going on. The experience that you are, that you've had over time. I want our audience to get a feel of that journey and see what they can learn from it. More so to be a blessing to their own young ones. And so, perhaps like I did for Zachary last week, I know you're my son, but there's more about you than that. Maybe you just want to give us a brief outline or intro. Who is Edward Idem?
Okay, well, hi everyone. Edward Idem is I'm the first of three sons. So I kind of had my experience when it came to the internet and using the computer and things like that. I had almost the experiment, I would say. After me, I feel like my brothers and my parents had gone through enough to know how to then proceed. So I think there was definitely a lot of learning that we did when we were, growing up. But I wouldn't look back on the journey and regret anything. Yeah, that's me summarized for internet me, not internet, but you know, um, the family clinic. That's it, really.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, quite a brief intro, but I suppose it will unravel.
Yeah.
So that you can see that Zachary has just said the legend himself. And I know when you think about it, that's a testament there. That just that ping from Zachary, even though he's calling his cousin legend, there is something that's attached to that I may reveal later, or maybe Zachary himself can reveal later. But thank you for that intro. So I'll just kick off because, and we agreed at the beginning, first disclaimer, that you're going to be real. You're not holding back.
Yeah.
You're going to say it as it is so that others will learn from the process. And that's just what it is.
Hmm.
If I was rotten, this is the only time you may have to say it. I give you full permission. Okay. So, in light of that intro, your background, the fact that you are the eldest of three, the pressure of leading by example, being a pioneer, what would you say, or rather, would you say that being first born helped you, or did it not help?
I would say that there's two there's two sides to it. Um, I think it helped in the fact that my parents were very into what I was doing, um, and that I think that's a very important part of any child's internet journey. I feel like the people that I know who have made mistakes or you know were just looking at things maybe that were a bit before their age. I feel like their parents maybe weren't as interested in what their child was doing on the internet. So to to that like in that regard, I feel like there were a lot more eyes, which kind of protected me from a lot. But at the same time, um, maybe not so positively. Um, I had to learn the hard way about a lot of things. Um, and when I say the hard way about a lot of things, um, I don't know, like things like Facebook, for example, Facebook usage, because obviously I as the child, was not aware of all the dangers, and the dangers that my parents had seen was enough to sway them away. Some might say that I joined like social media, so the Facebooks, the Instagrams, all of that quite late. Um, so maybe I missed out on some social interactions, but um, nothing that's hampered me permanently. So it's not a huge negative, but um, yeah, it. I would I would have to say that one of the main things that I noticed was how into what I was doing you and mum were. It was very hands on approach. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Okay, so hands on approach, and I think being hands on, I can't say enough about parents being in their business, rather the business of their young ones. I've said, and we've shared on videos about an open door policy. I remember since you have few words today. I'm not quite sure.
Sorry.
I'm not quite sure, but I'll fill the gaps. But I remember when you were much younger. I know the challenges that you had as a firstborn, where the standards expected of you from myself and mom were quite high. But I had to lower my expectations and those standards every now and then, because you will come back from school and say you had homework, and that homework needed to be done on the internet, and parents were not supposed to help because it's your school. And so I found myself, remember when we had parental controls on your computer, I had
Yeah.
to always come and add a different URL just to make sure that you were able to get access, because it was either that or you just had
And
BBC.
you also had like the curfew where at like I don't know maybe 8 o'clock the internet would just stop apart from like the most basic functions or
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. But when I think back to it, maybe I feel like answering these questions, I'm maybe coming from a in hindsight perspective. So in hindsight, having gone through all of that, I don't think I lost anything, but at the time it was really hard. It was horrific. I used to go to school and I'd be upset because all my friends would be talking about stuff on Facebook and Twitter and everything, and I knew there was no point in asking. The times I'd ask, I'd got the no. But there's definitely positives that came out of that. Socially though, it was hard. It was hard. Even sometimes it wasn't even the fact that you wouldn't let me. It was the fact that I was having to ask. It sometimes made me feel like you didn't trust what I do on the internet. But again, coming back to that sort of hindsight perspective, I just look back at it and I'm not really sad about it. I don't really feel any type of way about it. I just feel like that was what was needed at the time. I'm sure if you like think about my younger brothers, they got onto social media a lot quicker. They were more integrated in that sense. However, I think because of the approach you'd taken with me, we were able to learn a lot. Even the way that I am on social media now is partially down to that approach. I'm very careful. I'm very like knowledgeable on the dangers that there are out there. But that's because that's the perspective that I have developed due to that approach. But yeah, I it's hard to say a lot because I feel like looking from maybe or trying to see it from your perspective, you were trying to help me. And if I look at it in hindsight, it did help me. So I can't really look at it as a negative thing. But that isn't to take away from the fact that it was very difficult at that particular time with the child mentality I had back then. Hello? Sorry. Not sure quite what's gone on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, no, I said Sogi just said, where is it? Let me make sure that
Kudos to
she,
my god brother.
yeah. Sogi, welcome to the broadcast so that people generally feel a part of this. We have a lot of people who've said hi and hello, and we can't ignore. So
Good afternoon, everyone.
yes,
Hello
okay.
to my god. Kudos to my god sister too.
Okay. All right. So I feel bad that I actually mentioned that you're not saying much. I'm not putting that kind of pressure on you. And I yeah.
But
So
I just wanted to explain
no,
where
you
it was coming.
did very well. Did very well. In fact, in your explanations, you've actually tackled some of the questions that I did have because I was going to ask how hard it was and how the challenges were. You've already told us that. So you're not saying little. You're saying enough. Just don't mind me. I needed any excuse to be able to talk, and that's what I was able to do. So we leave it out. All right. So you've told us that it was hard and challenging, but in hindsight, things were done proper and you are better for it today. And that can only be a positive thing. And I'm grateful that, at least in your own eyes, that's exactly how it panned out for you. I know that now that you are your own man, you're starting you're married and you're on your way on a lovely journey. You now don't have parental controls on social media on your laptop. You don't have that. But you did mention that you got to most of those platforms quite late on. What would you say is your, and I think I asked Zachary this question too, what's your favorite social media today? And what benefits, the benefits that you mentioned that you got from not rushing into it? What have you now just resorted to? What's your favorite social media platform and why?
I would say that it's probably between Instagram and TikTok. Back when I was growing up, I definitely was Facebook only sort of thing. However, as Facebook has developed, I feel like I've shifted more away from it because the the kind of the thing I liked about Facebook was just going on there and seeing pictures of how people are doing and what great achievements they've now done and all of that. And I feel like Facebook kind of moved away from that. Whereas with Instagram, you just have, pictures. It's pictures after pictures after pictures. TikTok is also, and that's probably why I like it as well. TikTok is just, videos, challenges, all of that sort of thing. More like harmless fun. And you can also, I would say you can control what, not control, but you can filter what you let in. On Instagram and TikTok, I really just see stuff that the algorithms that they use have determined off the stuff that I like. So I don't, I rarely, I don't want to say I don't, but I rarely see things that are untoward or things that I shouldn't be seeing. It's just if I'm someone who likes, for example, a lot of you will know I'm an Arsenal fan. I like seeing, highlights of their football matches. So because when I go on TikTok and Instagram, those are the videos I like, my timeline then is presented with more of that stuff. So I feel like there's a lot more control with that. But with Facebook, it's more about the people you follow. So I might follow someone who I've never known is into something that it just doesn't agree with me. And if I then go and I'm following them, that they could be posting information about that and I would see it. So yeah, I feel like those two apps to me give you quite a lot of control. I do like Twitter, but I think there probably needs to be a couple of checks and balances on that. It can be quite a brutal app, unfiltered, you know, thoughts and comments. It's a heavy. That one is a bit heavy, but Twitter's not too bad. But yeah, I feel like if I had got into it a bit earlier, things that should not seem normal to I don't know, a 12-year-old may have seemed normal to me because I would have been seeing it. Whereas waiting till I was like of an age that was appropriate to taking things and also make judgments as to whether I should be looking at it or not. I think because we waited till that point, my usage has been a lot more safe or clean. But yeah, I would, if I had to say one, I'd probably say TikTok. To be honest, TikTok is the one that I find interesting. I always have funny videos on there, and it's all like good-hearted fun. It's not untoward untoward things. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's yeah. Facebook was what we knew then when you were growing up.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like when I think about you and think about Facebook, it reminds me of people or folks who work in McDonald's who
Mhm.
absolutely hate McDonald's because you see it day in, day out, and you just don't value it. It has its people have a high on it, but for you, it's the worst thing because you just want to not see it. And I
Yeah.
think for you, Facebook was a bit like that because that was the social media platform at the time. And having not been able to get on it for so long may have opened you up to looking at the others like Snapchat,
Yeah.
Instagram, and TikTok. So, yeah, I think some one or two people would have gained from that answer.
I feel like Facebook is actually is a very useful app if used appropriately. So I know when I went to university, even though I'd already felt like this about Facebook, I was using Facebook a lot because that's where we do our group meetings, or that's how we'll communicate with, like, I don't know. I played American football at uni. The American football team would communicate on Facebook, or I was in a dance society. The dance society would communicate on Facebook. So that kind of made me see the usefulness of it. But in terms of like actually enjoying social media, I think it was, I only really enjoyed it on Instagram. Like I don't mind Instagram. I feel like I'm a bit in a bit more control. It's not everything. Facebook is doing a lot right now.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I think definitely I would stick with those ones.
As to TikTok and
Instagram.
Instagram. Okay. Right. I mentioned to those who are just joining, I mentioned that you're a family man and you're at some point going to have your own kids. Would you do things differently? Your upbringing is now in the public domain.
Hmm.
A very wicked dad.
No.
Okay, yeah. So, I'm just kidding. But would you do things differently regarding how quick or how slow you let them loose on the internet, especially social media?
I would do things differently, but not because your approach was wrong, but more because the world has changed. Um, I don't remember. I feel like the first time that I may have come to ask for internet usage from you might have been when I went to like sixth form, not sixth form, sorry, secondary school. Um, you're not, you're not that
We-
bad.
Thank you.
That's I think that's the first time that like I wanted unsupervised access. Um, but as the world gets more technological, and as you know, tech is integrated more into our lives, I feel like I would have to take an approach whereby, sorry, I'd have to take an approach whereby I am aware of those changes and I'm making sure that there's no suffering because of my approach. So I wouldn't want education to suffer if you need to use your computer at the age of 6. Don't know why, but if you need to use your the internet at the age of 6, I don't want to stop you from that, but I would also like to educate you as so that you know this is what it is. Um, I probably say that the the approach that I would take would be some sort of hybrid between what you've what you did growing up, which was to kind of keep me away from the harsher stuff. But where I would adapt it, um, I would just start trying to educate from a bit younger, maybe. I don't. I feel like the children nowadays, when I talk to, the younger people, you have conversations with them, and they seem so much more mature than I remember being at that age. Um, so again, I guess that's another variable to take into consideration with the approach. Um, but yeah, I would do what I know, and leave the rest to God. Really, um, I think even despite how much you kind of protected me from the harsher stuff, things have still found their way onto to my timelines. I've still seen things that I didn't want to see on the internet, and there's some stuff that you can never, protect me from. But it was important that I had the mindset on how to deal with those things. So for me, it'll be really important that my child or future children um, would be able to make those decisions for themselves, be able to make judgments, be mature when it came to those things. Social media is a tough one, I think. Um, I feel like at the time I remember feeling a bit isolated, and not to blame you or the approach, but I remember thinking to myself, I don't want them to be isolated because of the approach. So I would also have to kind of think about how to balance it. Okay, you can have social media, but if you're gonna have social media, I'm gonna need a bit of access to it so that we can just keep controls and checks, so keep you accountable. At the time where I feel like you're able to do it by yourself, then by all means. But um, yeah, that might be something that I would change from the approach that you took.
Okay, so we're on the same page there. I feel that the key thing that you mentioned there that I would want our audience to always remember is that we have to be a part of the journey. You can't leave them to their
Own devices.
absolutely you can't. And there's a tendency that we'll do that. And the reason why that is because of life. You know, we're busy working. And the tendency is to, well, I've trained this child enough. I can give him or her an iPad. Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's quite dangerous. But with how we started today with parental controls, there's a lot of help that you can get from using parental controls to do some of these things so that you don't really have to be there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think the hybrid approach is the way. And thank you for breaking that down. All right, so we have a few more questions before we kind of open. While we are all, by all I mean all of us that are part of this broadcast, if you have any question for Ed or you have any question for me, this is a time to put it in because we have few minutes that we would at least five to 10 minutes we will assign for that section. And so I'm going to package this question as like a two or three in one question. You've talked about your upbringing, what you observed in your own household, and of course what you observed when you went outside. There's so many things that you saw others doing that we obviously didn't let you do. Did those sway you? Did they affect you? You know, because not all families are going to do the same thing. So how did you handle the fact that what you do at home or what you weren't allowed to do at home, others were doing freely? Some even younger than you were.
I would say that for me, the approach. it it did isolate me. However, I very soon got to the mindset that if someone was isolating me or I was isolated from the group because of social media or Facebook or anything, that it probably wasn't a group that I wanted to be part of in the first place. Um, and so when I started to have only those sort of people around me, by the time I then got onto social media, it wasn't a big deal. I These were people that I was genuine friends with before I was on those platforms. If I was to put something on those platforms that wasn't like me, they would know. It wasn't that I was just creating, these friends online, which is a whole nother topic. Um, but I definitely felt isolated at the time. I think I think I don't know. I remember. Okay, at the time, I remember. Oh, just one moment. At the time, I remember feeling a sense of, is it because I'm not mature enough? I'm really sorry, but I've just realized the plug is not on. I'm just gonna turn it on so the laptop doesn't go off. Sorry, apologies. Um, as I was saying, um, I really felt like I was I wasn't part of something. But then again, looking in hindsight, I feel like if these are my friends and we're going on social media to be social, then how can I not how can I feel left out of the friendship? Because we should be friends in real life, if that makes sense. Um, However, um, I would say at the time it made me quite angry towards you and mum, which may have led to me lashing out. Um, but again, in hindsight, I really do want to stress to like everyone watching that there will always be these growing pains when it comes to telling people not to do what their friends are doing.
Uh,
It's part of I think it's part of our nature to want to belong.
yeah.
So although there may be these teething problems, I think staying strong in that way made it so that when I was making friends, they were the type of friends that go beyond social media.
Yeah, yeah.
That
I
makes
you,
sense.
you'll be interested to know. I'm just gonna post this. Sogi has asked the question. She says, "Brother Edward, as you can read, you said you felt isolated at a time, but you, as a parent to be now, what would you do differently?" And she actually adds at the end, "Are you going to be are you going to be more hard on your kids too?"
Um, no, I'm not, and I think what's important is that we learn. So my dad did something a certain way doesn't mean that he was wrong, doesn't mean that he was right, but I can take what the best things were from his approach and add based on my experiences in that situation. So to for my own child, I probably wouldn't wait as long to introduce them to social media. But in the same way that my dad was very hands on and really looking at what I was doing and being a part of it, I think that is how I would also be, but just at a younger age. I think social media has really moved on from when I was like growing up. So I think it'd probably be a bit harsh now to restrict social media to such a far off age, if that makes sense. So yeah, I would I I wouldn't say it's easier or harder, but I would definitely introduce it earlier to my children. But I would take the same approach that I want to be involved in this journey. We can set boundaries, we can set limits, but the thought of unmonitored internet access for a younger person, it's not very comforting for me because I know what's out there. So I can see the strengths in that approach, but yes, I would, like I said, hybrid. I would add a bit of my dad, add a bit of me.
Okay. Right. Needless to say, God remains central to all that we are
God is the
doing.
foundation.
Okay.
I think we
So
all that one.
that's it. That's crucially important for those who are just joining. You may have missed the bit where Ed that you're seeing is my son. And they say what do they say? The fruit does not.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Okay. Enough said. All right, Edward. Just one last question, and Sogi, thank you very much for your questions, though, because you helped me avoid having to ask two questions. So your questions were timely. Thank you so much. Okay, so what advice, with the few minutes that we have left, what advice would you give to a young one who is angry, frustrated at not being allowed to get on the internet on their own timetable?
I think communication is key. Um, don't sit around getting angry in silence about it. If you have a case to make about why you should be able to have, more internet access or certain social media, um, I think it's important to have those conversations. I remember growing up that I always had the forum, at least, that if I was frustrated, I could vent it. I could tell my parents I don't like the fact that I don't have Facebook. It's stopping me from making friends. It's this, it's that. Obviously, very immature arguments at the time, but um, nevertheless, my parents still allowed me to say that, and then on top of it, um, I was also able to understand their reasoning behind why um, I they were making some of the decisions that they had made. Um, for for the anger, I guess I would say that really just look and try and see past the actual action. I think it's always important to understand the intent behind why someone is doing something. If someone is doing something to protect you, how angry can you really be? If someone is doing something to educate you, how angry can you really be? Because down the line, it's going to make it so much better. So now, I'm married. I have my wife. Social media hasn't ever been really big to either one of us, and I was still able to get married. It doesn't stop you from doing that. Um, I I want to say that anyone who's angry, I understand it. It's very understandable because the world itself now seems to operate on social media. However, I would like to say at the same time that we really need to just open up those channels. This is both for children and parents. Um, if anyone hears me have a conversation with my parents, so my mum or my dad, they're always so surprised that I say certain things, and that's because they developed they developed that channel of communication. So I was always in a position where I felt comfortable to voice how I was feeling, how I was how what I was thinking. So I guess this advice maybe goes to the parents. Don't just say no. Give reasons to the no. Explain your logic behind decisions that you're making. I feel like sometimes if you don't do that, you're either belittling the intelligence that your child has, or you're causing them to then go and do things behind your back. They then don't feel they can communicate with you. As harsh as that sounds, you really that is very important to quell anger. Communication. Yeah. I also feel like don't let things build up. So this is to the younger people. Don't let things build up. If something is annoying you then and there, as long as it's the appropriate occasion to say it and you know that you're not going to be disrespectful, by all means, open up. Don't hold things in, because it will just get worse. But besides that, really, all that's kept me strong is that, God has a plan for each and every one of us. He has a plan for me. And this is for me speaking personally. God has a plan for me. So God gave me to my parents. They're my caretakers. So I trust them in that sense. So I guess God has also helped me through it too. Well, I know God has helped me through it too. But yeah, that's it really. You just got to talk. I think what's really great about this platform is that it's an opportunity to talk. I remember I've had conversations with my parents, or there's times where they're telling me off and they're like, my dad would not talk to me about these things. I'm talking to you. And at the time I didn't realize the importance, but we just need to improve communication. I think communication is such a key element. And if you learn to communicate well, then social media is something that you'll navigate very easily. Social media is about communicating. So you will communicate effectively. You won't be communicating waywardly. None of that. So it's just important to have those conversations, respect your parents, but at the same time, respect them enough to share what you're thinking. So yeah, that's my thought.
Okay. Well said. Well said. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like we do, we only have an hour. I wish we had a lot more. And you're no stranger to the platform. I know where you live, and so at some point we can have these discussions with a group of people, not just one-on-one, but we can invite other people to be a part of the discussions. I know that it will help. Needless to say, this has helped. I treasure you as a son, and I treasure you as a future dad. I'm so glad that I did not maim you and that you're still alive to tell the story. So thank you for making this time for the clinic. It means so much to us. It means so much, evidently, to those who have connected in today. And at every opportunity, we never like leaving our broadcast without giving you, the viewers, the members of the family, those who are just passing by, an opportunity to be a part of this platform. I hope you've enjoyed the content so far. And if you have, all we ask is that you like the content and share it with your friends and family. We also want you to be a full part of this community, and you do that by subscribing. This is the format that is giving us a lot, and I feel that we will continue this format for weeks, months, and perhaps years to come, because we know that it gives value. Okay, so make enough noise about this platform to your friends and family. We meet here every week. Every Monday, a video is released, and then we have this opportunity to have a live Q&A at the end of every month. All right, it's good to have you on board. Edward, I want to say thank you again for your time with the clinic. We really, really appreciate you. If the audience could say bye and all that, they would have done that. We've totally enjoyed your company, and we pray that the Lord will continue to use you to be a blessing. Okay? And you can thank your wife for releasing you for this hour.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. So until I'm leaving Edward in view so that you can see him and wave to him if you want to. Until next week when we gather again. I've been your host. Edward, you can say bye-bye now.
Goodbye.
Okay.
God bless.
God bless, and see you next week. We can see many thanking you already. I want you to see it. That's Auntie Nora, which is your mommy, saying thank you. We love you dearly, she says. Well done for being so transparent. God bless you. Auntie Josephine has said thanks, Eddie. So I'm sure you get enough more. Yeah, guys, see you next week. God bless and goodbye.